You've cut carbs. You've done the fasted cardio. You've counted every calorie down to the gram. And that belly fat still hasn't budged. Here's the uncomfortable truth. None of that matters if you're losing the battle in the first 90 minutes after you wake up, because that's when your body decides whether today is a fat-burning day or a fat-storing day. And the fifth habit on this list is the one almost nobody talks about, but it might be doing more damage than your diet ever could. Here's what's actually happening. The instant you open your eyes, your brain releases a sharp burst of cortisol. Researchers call this the cortisol awakening response, and it's a real, well-documented spike. Cortisol rises anywhere from 38 to 75% in most healthy people within the first 30 to 45 minutes of waking. That spike is supposed to help you feel alert and ready for the day. But if your morning is rushed, chaotic, or spent hunched over a phone screen, your body reads that same spike as a threat signal. And threat signals tell your body to hold on to fat, not burn it. Stick around, because habit number 4 is counterintuitive. Most people are doing the exact opposite of what actually helps, and it's quietly working against every other habit on this list. Here's the part most people don't know. Not all fat responds to cortisol equally. The fat stored deep around your organs, visceral fat, carries a much higher concentration of cortisol receiving receptors than the fat just under your skin. Some research estimates visceral fat carries roughly 4 times the density of these cortisol receptors compared to fat elsewhere on the body. That's part of why chronic stress tends to show up specifically around the midsection rather than evenly across the body. So the goal isn't another diet rule. It's learning to keep that morning cortisol spike from turning into an all-day siege. Here are 5 habits that, done together, can help shift your mornings from stress mode into recovery mode. After 7+ hours without a sip of water, your body wakes up mildly dehydrated. Even mild dehydration makes your body work a little harder just to keep basic functions. Running and physical strain, even small amounts, contributes to overall stress load. Before you reach for coffee, try a full glass of room temperature water with a small pinch of salt and a squeeze of lemon. It's a simple way to replace lost fluids and minerals first thing, before you add anything else, like caffeine, into the mix. Your body runs on an internal clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, that governs when cortisol should rise and when it should fall. That clock is set primarily by light hitting your eyes. Research on morning light exposure has shown that even modest amounts of short-wavelength light after waking can meaningfully change the shape of the cortisol response, and other studies have found that an hour of bright morning light exposure increased cortisol levels compared to dim light, helping anchor the body's rhythm. Phone screens and indoor bulbs are far dimmer than actual daylight and don't send the same signal. Getting outside for 5 to 10 minutes without sunglasses, ideally within half an hour of waking, is one of the more reliably studied ways to help set that clock correctly. This is the one you'll see recommended everywhere online. So let's be straight about what's solid and what isn't. The popular version says, wait 90 minutes before coffee so cortisol and adenosine, the chemical that builds up while you're awake and makes you feel sleepy, can settle naturally first. It's a genuinely popular practice among sleep and performance researchers, including recommendations that have circulated out of Stanford's sleep research community. But it's worth knowing the science here isn't settled. At least one 2024 study found that delaying coffee for an hour and a half to 2 hours didn't actually prevent the cortisol rise or afternoon crash people were hoping to avoid, and the effect was smaller or absent in people who already drink caffeine regularly. So treat this one as a personal experiment rather than a guaranteed fix. Some people notice a real difference. Others don't, and either way it won't hurt to try pairing your first cup with breakfast instead of drinking it the moment you're upright. If your mornings already feel like a scramble, an intense workout first thing can push an already elevated stress response even higher. A gentler option, a slow walk outside, has real support behind it. One widely cited study found that spending 20 to 30 minutes sitting or walking somewhere with a sense of nature produced the sharpest drop in cortisol, and a separate study using saliva samples found cortisol dropped by over 50% after a walk on a green, tree-lined route, compared to about 37% after a walk on a plain urban street. You don't need intensity here. A calm 15 to 20-minute walk, ideally somewhere with a bit of greenery, seems to do more for your stress hormones than pushing through a hard cardio session on an already stressed system. The moment you open social media or email, you're feeding your brain a stream of small stressors and dopamine hits before you've even gotten out of bed. It's not about willpower. It's about sequencing. Giving yourself a phone-free window, even just 20 to 30 minutes, gives your nervous system a chance to settle into the day gradually instead of getting yanked into high alert immediately. So here's the full sequence. Wake up, Leave the phone alone. Drink water with a pinch of salt before anything else. Get outside for natural light and a slow walk. Hold off on coffee for a bit. Even 30 to 45 minutes can help, and see how you personally respond. None of this replaces good nutrition or exercise. It's not a hack that melts fat off overnight. But if your cortisol rhythm is working against you every single morning, all the diet discipline in the world will keep fighting an uphill battle. Try this tomorrow morning and see how your energy feels by 2 p.m. If this helped, subscribe. Next video breaks down exactly what to eat in that first hour to keep this effect going. And drop a comment below. Which of these 5 are you already doing? And which one are you skipping?